Now, it's time for Tensions Running High, a Penrith Panthers podcast presented by the Western Weekender. Thanks to Penrith Toyota, here's Troy Dodds and Nathan Taylor.
Hello everyone and welcome to Tensions Running High, a Penrith Panthers podcast presented by the Western Weekender. This is episode 53. A big thanks to our sponsor Penrith Toyota, the highest quality on new and used cars. Visit penrithtoyota.com.au. I'm Troy Dodds. I'm joined by Nathan Taylor. Hello Nathan.
Hello Troy.
On this podcast, we talk everything Penrith Panthers, and we are well placed to do it. For more than 30 years, the Weekender has bled Penrith. We've been there for all 6 premierships and the odd wooden spoon as well. On the agenda today, it is Mad Monday. We look back on an incredible season that had an abrupt end at Suncorp Stadium yesterday. Plus, we look towards Sunday's grand final, for anyone who cares, and discuss the whole time slot issue for the big game as well. But Nathan, it's all over. The incredible chapter in Penrith history. I say chapter because I don't think the story itself is done yet. But look, I thought what we'd start with is just having a look back on the last 24 hours in terms of how we felt. And I've got to say, I was pretty dejected and disappointed at full time yesterday. I thought more than actually I thought I would be. I just couldn't lift myself up off the canvas after that. So I was pretty dejected and got home. Probably about 7 or 8 o'clock, and by the time sort of 9 o'clock rolled around, and I put on an episode of Tulsa King with the great Sylvester Stallone, I put pause on that at about the 15-minute mark, and then I thought, I'm going to watch the 2 press conferences. So I watched Michael Maguire and his presser, and then Ivan and Nathan Cleary, and I just started to feel almost a sense of relief, which I think is being felt by a lot of Penrith fans today, that this pressure of winning and the pressure of continuing to dominate and being the hunted and all that was over. And then this morning, the sun rose, and I reckon it's all good. I actually, I'm not just saying it, I think as Penrith fans now, we get to put a line under those 4 years. We get to say, what an incredible run. I still think there's more to come. But yeah, I'm kind of feeling good today after feeling pretty devastated yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, I feel the same, Troy. Obviously, it would have been absolutely incredible to do it again, or at least just make another grand final. As you said, we love grand final week here at the newspaper, and we love when the town comes alive, when Penrith comes alive. It's something we look forward to every year, which is strange to say, but it's been something that's been a part of our lives for 6 years now. But unfortunately, Brisbane and Melbourne will be doing that this week and not us. But yeah, I agree with you. It does feel like a sense of relief now. There was a lot of pressure on this team for so many years, and for so many years they lived up to that pressure, and they proved everyone wrong and kept winning. I guess for me, just the manner in which they lost, Troy, it was looking pretty good at halftime there, 14-0. I was almost cracking open
almost had the bus
some
books.
Drinks and things like that. I felt we just needed another try in the second half to put them to bed. But Penrith unfortunately couldn't score, and Brisbane were phenomenal, like they were against Canberra the week before. They stuck in, they held in, they defended their asses off, and scored the 3 tries they needed to break our hearts. But yeah, we wake up in the morning and we kind of look forward to next year and know that this team will be even better next year, I think.
I think you're right in that the way in which it fell apart, and it was like watching a slow motion car crash in the second half, because we had that dominant first half. And I actually said to my mates I was watching the game with, I said, look, I'm confident here. However, I do feel we've got this second half slump in us this year. We've had this second half fade in us this year. And I kind of wish we were up by a little bit more. And then, as you say, a couple of opportunities to go up 20-0, and then you'd think it would be all over.
Yeah.
And look, there was obviously some unlucky moments. Casey McLean getting called back on that intercept try. That would have been a real heartbreaker for Brisbane there in the first half. And obviously as well the Scott Sorensen situation, which is Ivan Cleary touched on in the press conference, is a little bit weird that an independent doctor basically declares it's a Category 1 HIA, but then Scott Sorensen passes the test. So I don't know why does the non-test, which is just having a look at how why is that deemed more critical than the actual test?
Yeah.
And then if you pass the actual test, you can appeal the Category 1 and play next week potentially. Like we saw an example yesterday. That system being a little bit muddled.
Yeah, exactly right. And if Penrith did win, I think we would have been talked about a lot with whether Scott Sorensen would play. It sounds like he probably would have played in the end, considering he passed that test. But that's a bit of a muddy little area that the NRL has brought upon itself, like they always do. And eventually they're probably going to be some clarity over the off season as to what goes on with that, because that certainly hurt Penrith. Throughout the contest, I thought Luke Garner coming in, he's an excellent replacement for Scott Sorensen, but I think it just stuffed up with their interchanges. They were fatigued in the second half. Penrith are doing some uncharacteristic stuff, like Nathan Cleary was losing his head a bit, like getting a little scrap with Ezra Mam there. Like there was some things that we just haven't seen this Penrith team do over the years. They were panicking, even though they said in the presser they weren't, but I think they were. They just couldn't find a way to score, and it got to them in the end.
Yeah, look, I was disappointed that there wasn't a penalty there on that hit on Nathan, because I think there would have been in round 6. Yeah, through the year, that has been penalised, but swings and roundabouts, because I think in round 6, Dylan Edwards also gets sent to the sin bin last week.
Correct.
For that holdback. So, look, we felt the Panthers were in control in the first half. Ivan Cleary wasn't so sure. Here is a little bit of what he had to say about that.
Yeah, it was. I didn't feel like we were in control of the whole game. No, I thought the second half we were, generally speaking, I thought we were on the back foot quite a bit, and then just couldn't kind of those little moments you need just to get some extra possession or just sort of going their way, which kind of happens when they looked like they didn't want fuel in the tank, to be honest. So.
And that's a pretty good summation. They certainly did look like they had more fuel in the tank there in that second half, as I said. Felt like a car crash. And that last 10 minutes, that just went forever. And you just knew what was going to happen. There
was just too much time left for Brisbane to come back, and that's exactly what happened against Canberra. Canberra had built a bloody good lead too, that you thought they were going to get home, but there was just so much time left on the clock for Brisbane to prevail. Now, Troy, I keep thinking about that last play that Penrith had to try and score or even the game up. I feel they really botched that. It was they could have scored. I mean, a try would have put the game out of reach, but they went for this 2-point field goal play, which I know Nathan Cleary can pull off sometimes, but this was just, he couldn't even get a shot off. He had to give it to Dylan Edwards, who was in no position to make that kick.
Well, it's funny. It's funny how things come back to haunt you that were actually good at some point. I think in the back of Nathan Cleary's mind would have been, well, we did this on the Gold Coast. Yeah. We did this when we were attacking, and I stepped back and I took this 40-metre shot. But it just wasn't the play, because first of all, we would have gone to extra time. Penrith were out on their feet. I don't think they win it in extra time. Yeah. So going for the try was the better option. No question about that. And in fact, even when Cleary couldn't get it away and he gives it to Edwards, I still think try and go for it, do something, put a bomb up, like whatever it is, but a bomb would have been the better option.
Because what were they, about 20 to 30 out when heading to us play, and even Ivan said, he's like, we got too close. Well, then if you got too close, we saw, I don't know if you saw it at the Super League, St. Helens, that miracle try on the 80th minute, just do something like that. You're that desperate.
Yeah.
I know that's something that I will think about the off-season. I'm sure that's something they all think about too, going, well, why didn't we do that?
He was looking for the clutch play, and it just wasn't to be. But good on Brisbane. They've, Michael Maguire, like those Brisbane old boys have got egg on their face. They were pretty unhappy at Kevy getting the arse, and Michael Maguire coming in, but he's done a great job with the Michael Maguire. And what about Adam Reynolds, of course? At the same venue he missed the grand final sideline conversion. He steps up. Reece Walsh hands over the kicking duties to Adam Reynolds, and Adam Reynolds lands that conversion. He was never going to miss it. It was
just perfect, wasn't it, for him? Obviously it devastated us, but in terms of a rugby league redemption story, to see, come against the same club that he missed the goal in 2021, and to make that kick, and it wasn't look like it was going to miss. And Adam Reynolds, credit to him, he's 35, played a shit ton of games, and he's he came back from a hamstring injury 6 or 7 weeks ago, first game, and guides his team to a grand final. For 3 or 4 minutes, Brisbane were in front this entire final series.
Incredible.
And they're in a grand final, like crazy.
Now, I spoke to a few people at Panthers. I spoke to Panthers chairman Peter Graham this morning. We've obviously seen the Ivan presser and whatnot. I actually do think around the club, like obviously they want to be in the grand final, but I think that mode of relief that we talked about before is with them as well. I think that they feel that that this is an opportunity just to step into the next little era now.
Yeah.
Ivan, though, very adamant that it's not over. He had a great answer to the question about, well, is the dynasty over? Let's have a listen to Ivan Cleary when it came to being questioned about that this dynasty is all over.
Well, it's over.
I guess the 4-time premiers dynasty you've had. It's been an amazing run.
Thank you. I'd like to think there's more in us. See, we I'm not going to win it this year, but we definitely showed a fair bit to fight back from a poor start, that's its own story, but doesn't need to be told today. But probably some lessons in there, and but ultimately just not quite good enough this year. But I feel like we got some real strides with some young guys this year, and the core of our team is going to still be there next year, and hopefully they use this feeling, which we haven't had for a while, to spur us on into next year.
I do think if there's something that needs to be pointed out to the media over the last couple of days is that Penrith losing this year does not end a dynasty. Penrith could come back and win it the next 2 comps after this one, and the dynasty is still intact. A dynasty does not mean you have to win consecutive titles every single year. So I don't know if the dynasty's over yet. I think putting the line through Penrith and this era is very dangerous. It's not done.
And one of the great dynasties in sport is the Chicago Bulls in the 90s, Troy. They won 3 titles in a row. Yep. Then they had a year off because Michael Jordan went to baseball. And then they came back and won the next 3 in a row. So, and they still call that a dynasty, 6 titles in 7 years or whatever it is. So you're 100% right there.
Yeah. One thing Ivan Cleary said there too was that the playing group essentially stays intact for next year. And with no disrespect to Brad Schneider, the only player out of the 17 who goes is him, and it's probably the weakest link, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is a lot of upside to this Penrith side next year. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It will be interesting to see if anything emerges out of the rumblings through the year about Scott Sorensen potentially moving on.
Luke
will there be Luke Garner? Will there be a little surprise to emerge anywhere, or are we thinking that the other 16 that took the field yesterday will all be there?
I think those 2 guys are likely to be there next year. I think they got Perth earmarked probably for 2027, those 2. If they're going to leave, which they probably will, I reckon they'll probably go to Perth. But it just emphasises what happened yesterday, emphasises how important, Troy, that top 4 finish is. I know there was this great storyline of never before has a team, in the NRL era won a grand final from, outside the top 4. And as I said to some of you guys yesterday, if Penrith can't do it, I don't see any other team doing it. That week off, it was important in the end, I think. It gave Brisbane that extra motivation. They had the home final. They had plenty of more gas in the tank at the end of the game. What do you think? How important that top 4 is now?
Yeah, it's so critical. Someone will win it from outside of the top 4. I have no question that will happen one day. Because you're going to see a side that somehow goes on this incredible run and does do it. But under the current system, it's very difficult to do because you end up playing a prelim final against a team who has had a week off and in the home city, most of the time home stadium. Yeah. So it's a pretty, and you look at, Penrith yesterday, it was tired legs that sort of got them at the end and the lethargicness of it all. But it'll happen. Someone will win it from outside of the 4 one day. But
I'll throw a curveball at you. It was so close to being Canberra, Troy, 2 weeks ago. What do you think that could have happened? I know we don't know, but
Look, if Canberra win, I think if Canberra won that week 1 final, I think we are in grand final week.
Yeah.
I just think it's amazing how things can change and turn around because I think that Penrith would have gone down and probably beaten Canberra because we saw how vulnerable Canberra were.
Inexperienced and
inexperienced.
Big games,
if they just would have held on, it changed the entire finals series.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy in the end. But Brisbane win it 16-14 over Penrith. Penrith failed to score a point in the second half. There is all sorts of crazy stats out there. This has definitely put an end to a whole bunch of different records and crazy little statistics. But it is what it is. That is the end of the season. And in the end, I know Ivan, he was asked in his presser, do you still consider it a successful season? He was loath to say so. I think it is a successful season. I think if you can defend a title and go out in the prelim let alone 4 titles. I think that's a successful season.
Yeah, you're probably right, Troy. Obviously, it's he was probably very hurt at the time, and probably just can't believe that his side had a 14-0 lead and didn't go on with it. But look, it is a success in a way. But this club, they just aim for higher goals, as we know. The grand finals is what they want to get to, and they just missed out, unfortunately. So yeah, I get both arguments.
All right, well, that's it. That's it for the Panthers in season 2025. Hard to believe. Who knows what Mad Monday looks like for the Panthers these
So they
days.
flew home last night.
Yeah,
yes,
there was a lot of people who saw them at the airport.
Got photos with them, which was great. Like, we saw pictures of Nathan Cleary signing autographs and getting photos of Broncos fans after the game. He's an absolute legend, and people that still criticize him or give him shit on online and whatever, you guys are losers, because this guy is the best in the business on and off the field, and you're just jealous that you don't have him on your team.
Spoken and authorised by Nathan Taylor. Vote 1. Now, listen, if you are looking for employees in Penrith, look no further than penrithjobs.com.au. It is your new online home for recruitment. Find local people to field local jobs and keep Penrith working. Visit penrithjobs.com.au. Speaking of Nathan Cleary, I really enjoyed his comments after the game yesterday, because let's listen to them first, and then I'll tell you how I felt after this.
Just as hollow. It's not nice, but I think that's probably a credit to our group as well. Is we've always said that we've just moved on from each comp to comp and taken each season on its merits, and it was the same this year. And I think I've always said that when you retire and you can look back, you're thinking of the 4 premierships very fondly. But at the moment, it's looking ahead. It's not in the rear vision mirror. And came in today with a task to do, and we didn't do it. And as the halfback of the team, responsible for that. And it's not nice. So.
He was pretty broken, Nathan Cleary, but gee, you sense that hunger and that drive is there for next season. He wants to kick off. He wants it to be March.
Yeah.
Because that's, to me, that is awesome. I think that we will look back, I reckon, at this and go, you know what, how lucky we were that we didn't make it in 2025, because it spurred on the next little chapter for Nathan. I'll even go as far as saying, does this play one piece of the puzzle? There's a much bigger puzzle. Does this play a little part in ensuring that they re-sign in the future? Because now the hunger is revived.
Yeah, for sure, and it feels like there could be some unfinished business there, Troy. It does feel like Nathan, wants to spend his entire career in the NRL at least, and hopefully with Penrith, because that has been a big sort of question mark going into the off season. What do Ivan Cleary and Nathan Cleary do with their careers? We know there's a lot of talk about that, but yeah, that audio, they're listening to it again, just gives you hope, and a major sort of get up off the couch like we both were yesterday, Troy, and just have a little spring in your step, knowing that if in 2020 Penrith had the grand final loss that everyone said we had to have to spur on this incredible run, and maybe this is what 2025 is all about too. This loss we have to have, and we go and do it all again. I don't think we win 4 in a row. That just seems crazy, but just winning another title again would be lovely, I think.
It sure would. All right, well, there it is. The season that was, the era that was, but we continue on. We're going to have a look now at the whole season as we look wide. Now, we should point out as well, for anyone who might turn off after the 20-minute mark, you shouldn't, but we're going to continue on. We're going to march on for the next few weeks or a month or however long we've got content for. We'll do some lists and some
fun games.
There'll be some news around. There's no question
Ashes coming up, Troy.
About that. We do have
Pacific
the Ashes.
Championships.
I had a look at the kickoff times for the Ashes. It's not good. Anyway, but plenty happening. So we're still sticking around with tensions running high. Don't worry about that. All right, let's have a look at the story of the season. We are going to go round by round. Round 1, and Penrith opened the 2025 season in Las Vegas, getting past Cronulla 28-22. It's the perfect start to Penrith's premiership defence on one of the grandest stages in international sport.
Round 2, Penrith are short price favourites to beat the Roosters, but go down 38-32 in a seesawing match at CommBank Stadium. It's considered one of the upsets of the season.
Roosters were $12, I think, on the tab. Round 3, Nathan Cleary leaves the field under HIA protocols, leaving Penrith without their inspirational number 7 for most of the match against Melbourne. The Storm win 30-24.
Round 4, the Rabbitohs proved too good for Penrith at Accor Stadium, winning winning 28-18 as the Panthers slumped to a third straight loss and serious questions emerge about their premiership defence.
Round 5 and Penrith's home away from home CommBank Stadium continues to prove problematic for the Panthers. They fall 22-18 to North Queensland to record a fourth straight loss.
Round 6, Penrith's season hits a major low as they drop another game, this time to the Dolphins, 30-12 at Suncorp Stadium. The Dolphins lead 18-6 at the break and never really look like losing.
Round 7 and finally some good news. Penrith bounced back into form with a thumping 40-12 defeat of the Roosters at Allianz Stadium, breathing some hope back into their premiership campaign after a string of losses.
Then round 8 came by and Penrith's return to the winner's circle is short-lived after they go down 26-10 to a struggling Manly side at CommBank Stadium, with real doubts now about even making the finals.
Round 9 and Penrith put on a show with one of the best performances at Magic Round, leaving Brisbane rattled in the wake of a 32-8 thrashing. The win puts fears of missing the top 8 to rest for now.
Round 10, Penrith appear to have done enough to beat the Cowboys, but 2 late tries forced the game to golden point. The sides can't be split, and a 30-all draw in the end result in Townsville.
Without their origin stars in round 12, Penrith's season hits a new low. The game we now know spurred the second half season revival. They go down 25-6 to eventual wooden spooners Newcastle, and it leaves Penrith on the bottom of the table after 12 rounds.
Round 13, Penrith produced a much-needed win over arch rivals Parramatta at CommBank Stadium. It's far from convincing, but the 18-10 victory is enough to breathe life back into the campaign.
Round 14, Penrith hold on to beat West Tigers 18-14 and record back-to-back victories. Thomas Jenkins scores 3 tries in the win, while Nathan Cleary lands 2 conversions and a penalty goal.
Round 16, Ivan Cleary rests his origin stars from the trip across the Tasman to play the Warriors. The patched-up Panthers do the club incredibly proud, causing a 28-18 boil-over at Go Media Stadium.
Round 17, Nathan Cleary scores the match-winning try in an epic 8-6 win over Canterbury at CommBank Stadium. Goes down as one of the best games of the season.
I loved that game, Troy. Round 19, Penrith continue to shrug off their early season form slump, demolishing Parramatta 32-10 at CommBank Stadium. More than 22,000 fans turn out to watch the Western Sydney showdown.
Round 20 and Penrith's winning ways continue again at CommBank Stadium as the side finally settles into their new digs. The Panthers beat the Rabbitohs 30-10 as the top 8 becomes a reality again.
Round 21, Penrith demolished the West Tigers 36-2. The Tigers get first points through a penalty goal, but the Panthers score 3 tries in the lead up to halftime to build a convincing lead.
It was the controversial game round 2022 that sparked Trainergate, but it'll also be remembered for an epic finish that saw Penrith beat Gold Coast 30-26 in a Golden Point Classic at Cbus Super Stadium.
Round 23, Penrith's winning run continues, this time thrashing Newcastle 48-12 at McDonald Jones Stadium. The Knights are no match for an informed Penrith, who did little wrong on the road to victory.
Round 24, we all remember this one. Penrith left devastated after Harry Grant scores an incredible try in Golden Point extra time to give Melbourne a 22-18 victory over Penrith at CommBank.
And then round 25 rolled around and it was dubbed the Miracle in Mudgee. KO Weeks scores a length of the field try for Canberra in Golden Point to give the Raiders a 20-16 victory over Penrith in front of 9,925 country fans.
Including me. Round 26, Penrith makes the extraordinary decision to rest the entire first grade team against Canterbury to prepare for the finals. The Bulldogs win 28-4 at Accor Stadium.
Round 27, the Panthers warm up for the finals with a 40-20 victory over St George, Illawarra and Wollongong. Paul Alamotti bags a double in the contest, while Nathan Cleary scores 16 individual points.
Finals week 1, the Panthers survive a do-or-die showdown with the Warriors in the opening weekend of the finals, winning 24-8 in wet conditions in front of a huge crowd at Mount Smart Stadium.
Finals week 2, the Panthers produced one of the great finals first halves in history to set up a commanding 46-26 win over Canterbury at Accor Stadium, silencing a huge Bulldogs strong crowd.
And then, of course, finals week 3. After leading 14-0 at halftime, a clearly tiring Penrith goes down 16-14 to Brisbane in an epic preliminary final, bringing the curtain down on Penrith's incredible run of 14 straight finals wins. And there is your season. You look back on that and some big moments in the season. 4 Golden Point games.
Yeah, that's probably the most they've played in a season for sure.
And only one of them resulting in victory, the other a draw, and then 2 losses. So those Golden Point, if Penrith had won those other Golden Points and the draw game, probably finish in the top 4 and maybe changes everything.
Yeah, it was looking back now after reading all those, Troy, it was a funny old season, wasn't it? It was the first year at Combank. It didn't start well. Yeah. Vegas, we had some new players get introduced into the mix. There was just you could just tell it was just a roller coaster year. We had some really bad lows with the 5 losses in a row. Then Trainergate, the 9 wins in a row. We thought we were back. We had the amazing finals. I thought that prelim win against that finals win against the Bulldogs last week was probably our grand final in a way. We got to all celebrate. We got to see the boys one last time in the flesh and enjoy a win. So that was good to have that. I'm glad the Dogs didn't make it this far.
Well, there it is, your season 2025, and one for the books. There's no doubt about that. But we move on, of course, to the grand final, and we will just discuss this briefly. Storm up against the Broncos on Sunday. Probably a lot of tickets being exchanged this week because I think Broncos fans will come in big numbers, but obviously you've got Panthers and Sharks fans and Dogs fans and
Raiders
all have had tickets, Raiders fans throughout the year. So, look, I still think they'll get over 80,000, but it's probably not the hot ticket in town that it might have been.
And this is what's wrong with, I think, Ticketek. They don't have a proper resale market, do they? Where you can put your tickets back up for sale, right? It's on the onus of the ticket holder to sell them on Marketplace or find a friend or use some other third-party website to sell the tickets. It's strange, right?
It is strange.
You should be able to sell back those tickets.
Yeah, you should definitely be able to sell back those tickets, and I find it very, very odd that the Ticketek haven't sorted that out. It is strange. Look, I think Melbourne win the grand final. I just think that the extra 2 days rest will be a factor, but also they've just been the best team all year. And even though they've been shaky at different times through the year, they've maintained being premiership favourites the whole way. They should win.
Yeah, and look, Troy, that we know that Melbourne have haunted us for years, and that they've been in these big games several times, as we know. And a lot of those players, they just know how to win the big games. Not to say that Brisbane don't. Brisbane have been huge and a massive surprise pack at this final series to defeat Canberra, the minor premiers, and to defeat Penrith, the defending champions. Like that's extraordinary. But we go back to that stat that I said earlier. They only led 3 or 4 minutes this entire final series, and I go, that's all you need. But I don't know whether Melbourne are going to let you back into the game like Penrith and Canberra did. Yeah,
and it's interesting, because I think you'd think you're going for Brisbane because you kind of want a different premier. It ends a long drought. They've lost their last 2 grand finals against the Cowboys and of course the Panthers. But I admire Craig Bellamy and what he's done down there. I want him to do it. Look, there's probably one player who I want to get a premiership in Brisbane, and that's Ben Hunt. I think he's had a great career. He obviously dropped the ball in that famous 2015 grand final. I wouldn't mind seeing him get one, but I'd probably rather leave Reece Walsh to drink his toilet water.
That's right, and I think there's a lot of Brisbane players that we're probably not that fond of. Not because they beat Penrith yesterday, but some of them are just idiots. Reece Walsh leads the pack. Great player, sure, but just even the way he carried on yesterday. Like, I know he was excited, but just running with the ball at the final seconds there to just have that show pony moment at the end for himself. I don't know. It was just it would be nice to see the tables turn this weekend.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I hope Melbourne win it. So let's see what happens though. I'll tip Melbourne. I reckon Melbourne might get away with it actually. 16, 18 points. I think they might run away with it in the second half.
Purple Pride.
There you go.
What is it a sellout, Troy? Do you think? What's happening here?
I think it's. I think it'll be a sellout officially because I think that they only leave an extra few thousand tickets on sale today, and I think Melbourne and Broncos fans will snap those up. But whether or not everyone goes who had tickets will be a big question mark. Because it's not the most exciting grand final, even though they're 2 great teams. From a Sydney perspective, not the most exciting GF.
Yeah, well, it's rare to not have a Sydney team involved in the NRL grand final, isn't it?
I'd suggest the ratings will be through the roof because you're going to have the massive Brisbane audience. You're going to have a Melbourne audience. But then you're still going to have your core Sydney Rugby League audience. Everyone's going to watch it. So I think the ratings will be through the roof. Now, talking about the ratings, let's join the debate over the time slot because there's all this talk now about the daytime grand final potentially emerging. There was a story yesterday which was just a fluffy story about the NRL will consider in 2028 daytime. Well, of course they will, because there's a new TV deal, so
Yeah.
that will be part of the discussion.
Yeah.
It was always going to be. It's no scoop that would be part of the situation. But do you want a daytime grand final, or are you happy with the nighttime?
No, I've never been a fan of the daytime, Troy. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a nighttime guy. I think the build up across the day, they can do more at night. I like, this family stuff. We like to have our barbecues during the day and all that sort of thing. But I think just the night, it just feels more important. It just elevates the game a bit. Even that people in the AFL, they even want twilight or nighttime grand finals. They're over the daytime thing. It's very hot in Sydney too. During that part of the year, we know we've had some 35-degree grand finals in recent years.
That Penrith-Brisbane grand final was
exactly
scorching.
like it's not good for the players or for the people in the seats. And just you could just do more. You can hold those lead-up games. The state championship, the NRLW grand final. You can do cool stuff with the pre-game performances. And I just think the TV networks, as much as they think this little quirk that we've had in recent weeks, having Sunday Arvo footy, that was great, and maybe they'll continue to do that as a trade-off. But I think the nighttime works.
Look, I'm probably with you more than anything. I watched the AFL Grand Final on Saturday.
Yep.
And,
how's that?
Look,
I watched Snoop and I watched the bit of the first quarter, but that was it.
Well, look, it's I will say this: it just feels too early. Like, it just feels like you're suddenly in a game, and when you do have like Snoop Dogg performing there, you're kind of like, this is weird that it's just in the daytime, and how spectacular that would kind of be at night. Look, I'm probably more of an advocate for having a bit of both.
Okay.
I think kicking off at 5 or 6 o'clock, just that little bit earlier. Now, I know there's issues with 9 News and all that sort of stuff, but if you were to kick that off at 6, for example, on the Sunday, I think you're getting the best of both worlds, because the game's over by 8 o'clock, so you're sorting out your families and all of that. Yep. But also, you've had your afternoon. You can have your barbecue at 12 and 1 o'clock.
Yep.
The day's underway then. You've got your NRLW and all of that. I just think that maybe the 7:15 is a little bit late.
And I guess it's still light a little bit, isn't it? By then, the daylight savings have just kicked in.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. I think we've just had a little bit of a sugar hit on these afternoon games.
Yeah.
Being really popular. I do agree with you, though. I think that at least for week 2, we're going to stick with this Saturday night, Sunday concept moving into next year. Whether we do it with the prelims or not, there might be a bit of a review on that, particularly if Brisbane get thumped. I don't think you can continue on a policy that allows you to have 2 week, 2 day
that's
rest.
Terrible. You're right. So either play the game on a Saturday, Sunday, and don't worry about the AFL, or just go back to the Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, and you're asking Brisbane today, for example. They've obviously they get to stay in Brisbane, but they've got media commitments today. They've got to get to Sydney for all the commitments from Wednesday, so they'll probably fly to Sydney on Wednesday, I'm guessing, for some Dally M Awards, and then the Fan Fest is on Thursday, Friday. Like, they could have had, if they played Saturday, they could have had yesterday as a recovery day. Maybe did some media, like whatever it might be, and then sort of get into their groove on Monday. Melbourne, it feels like an age ago that they beat Cronulla.
Yeah,
these 2 days that they've had to prepare, it's very silly. So I don't think we'll be doing that next year.
No, I don't think so either. It's even Ivan said they asked him in the press conference pre-game, like, what do you think about it? Or he's like, oh, it's a great problem to have. Like, I'd love to have this problem to be there, but no one can be happy about that.
No, silliness. But that is the NRL for you.
That's the NRL for you. This they do so many good things, but then they just do some weird stuff that you just can't get your head around.
Could you see a time when we're having this the 2 week gap? Basically
potentially, because
it does solve another issue, which of course is the whole HIA stand down. That's only going to become more prevalent in the game. Like, you could have had Nathan Cleary get a hit yesterday. Penrith win, and then he's out of the grand final.
Yeah, that's true. That could happen. I just don't know. Is the NRL strong enough to have a 2 week gap like they do in the NFL and the Super Bowl to just keep that train rolling?
You would need something on that other weekend.
But what?
So maybe that is when you have your New South Wales Cup.
So you do, because you couldn't have your NRLW grand final because they want that on the big day.
Yeah, they do want that on the big day.
With the NRL.
You know, I'm an advocate for that not occurring. I just think it should have its own. If you're going to back it, give it its own.
But to be fair, look at we don't have a team yet, so I don't watch much of it. But apparently the crowd yesterday for the Broncos game was quite low, and that team was one of the best all year.
The NRLW has an issue. I actually watched the Saturday night game, the Roosters Sharks.
Where was that at?
They're in Gosford. Yep.
How'd that go with the crowd?
I think the crowd was still pretty poor, to be honest with you. They looked like there was a good smattering of people, but not huge.
That's right.
And Cronulla almost got them, which would have been a major upset. Didn't happen, though. The biggest problem the NRLW has is, obviously, it's been talked about the last couple of weeks, is the dominance of the Roosters and Broncos. Means that the interest level is, you've just got two teams that are just way above everything else.
And apparently more big names are going to those clubs next year as well.
I don't know how that's happening, but they've got to get control of that.
But how is that possible? Like, do they have a similar salary cap to
they must
the
have
NRL?
Have a cap. So I'm not sure how.
So then how are they managed to have all these superstars?
We might have to do an investigation into the NRLW and how that works. Look, it's funny. Like, we can say it. It will never really get properly investigated or talked about or given airtime because people are too scared to have the debate that a women's competition might not be working. But the AFLW has got probably worse trouble than the NRLW. The AFLW
they're still going. That competition's still running.
That competition still goes, and it's all over the place. And there's a lot of question marks on that and the quality of the competition. At least the NRLW has got significantly better in terms of quality as each year's got on. But it does have some issues. Roosters Broncos in the grand final there, and of course the only Cleary involved in grand final day will be Jet Cleary, because Jet Cleary's Warriors are through to the state championship after they won the New South Wales Cup yesterday. Yes, the New Zealand Warriors won the New South Wales Cup. So there you go.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool, and I guess that's going to mean that Ivan and Nathan will be there on grand final day.
They might go home early, but.
I reckon they stayed. I reckon they stayed in a box or something for the rest of the game. Surely that's pretty cool. Obviously, Jet, local boy to Penrith, went to St Dominic's for his entire high school career, and look, congratulations to him. He played a big role with the Warriors this year. I think he started on the bench in that final, but with Tanner Boyd back in the side. But good to see. I think that would have made Ivan a little bit happier yesterday. I don't know do you think he would have found out that the Warriors won at half, because the Penrith game was going on at the time. When does he know?
He would have got some word.
Did someone give him a little note or something?
He would have got some word.
Yeah,
for sure.
That the Warriors won.
Sure. But good on Jet. Look, who knows?
And who are they playing?
Nathan's. They're playing the winner of the Queensland Cup. Whoever won that,
I know Sean O'Sullivan was playing in the grand final for the Queensland Cup.
I'll take a guess. Do you reckon they beat Ipswich? I don't know.
Sorry, folks, we haven't done our research here on the Queensland Cup.
Because I didn't. It was on Saturday afternoon.
But we can't see it. None of it's broadcast. Is that? Did Fox play that one?
The Bears won it.
The Burleigh Bears.
The Burleigh Bears 22-8 over the Devils. So there you go. They'll be playing the Bears, the Perth Bears, maybe.
Okay.
And they played that one at Dolphin Stadium, KO Stadium, whatever you want to call it. That was on Saturday afternoon. I think it was on Fox, but I was watching the AFL, so I didn't see it.
Another clash.
Can't follow the Queensland Cup, of all things. Just too much.
You signed up to Bar TV Sports yesterday. Would you get a 48-hour pass?
Yeah, 48-hour pass, $6.95 to watch the Jersey Flag Grand Final. I thought they did pretty well for an online.
Did they shoot it on an iPhone?
No. They got good crowd shots and everything. So good on them. Very expensive if you want the month. It's $19.95 a month. It's more expensive than Apple TV.
Yeah, that's the same price as Stan Sport.
So, yeah, very expensive. But, yeah, I thought I'd watch the Jersey Flag Grand Final. So I saw Melbourne unfortunately beat Penrith.
Yeah, Melbourne winning a New South Wales competition. That's another one.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think we'd fix all that and have these national reserve grade and third grade competition is what we should be doing. All right, well, we were going to have 2 episodes this week, but only one because of where we've landed. But we will be back next week, and we'll start to dissect. We'll dissect the grand final next week, of course, but we're going to have other things to talk about.
We'll have I presume the Kangaroos team will get announced at some point.
We'll have the Kangaroos team. We'll have other bits and pieces. Hopefully, we'll run into Nathan Cleary at some point and present him with his Extra Time Player of the Year trophy.
Yeah.
Of course, Isaiah Yeo. Got it last year. We don't have enough money to get another trophy, so we've got to go get it off Isaiah, give it to Nathan. Maybe they
perpetual trophy.
Yeah, maybe they could just hand it over or something, do it at training. And yeah, well, we've got some Drink West out there. Give Nathan some Drink West,
his own beer.
And
he was the clear winner, though. I think this year for us.
Oh,
and
no
I think
question.
for everyone, he outstanding season by Nathan.
He did, and we'll be back doing that all again next year, of course. All right, well, look, that is it. Nathan, a great season. Unfortunately, we don't get to do another grand final special edition, but we are doing a wrap called Unforgettable this week. We're going to look back on the great 4 years it has been.
Yeah, it has been one that gave us so many good memories, best memories of our lives. Probably Troy. This past 4 years winning these comps. So we've got to celebrate that this week.
We sure do. All right, well, that is it for Tensions Running High this week. We'll be back for another episode next week. Visit westernweekender.com.au. Follow us on all the socials. Check out our print edition out every Thursday. I'm Troy Dodds. Nathan, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Troy.
And whether you are a 67er, a Brandy or Royce convert, Girds guy or girl, you're on the bandwagon for the first time, maybe. We are all in this together. Let's go, Panthers, and we will see you next week.